All right, this is basically our introduction this week. Since we don't have church next week, we have a combined service with no Sunday school next week. So we're going to do the introduction today to our new study, Unrequested Miracles. If you're watching this by video, I sent the outline out earlier in the week, and I'll resend it in case you want to print it up and follow along. But the title is sort of unusual. I've never heard anybody preach or teach about unrequested miracles. I'm reading in Luke, and one day I got to a miracle early in my study, and I thought, wait a minute, Jesus did that, and the person didn't ask for it. So I wrote beside of it, unrequested miracle. And then I found another one, and I found another one. I ended up finding about 19 of them, where Jesus, in fact, 3 or 4 of the cases, it says he saw somebody that had a need, and he just went ahead and met it. Many times when something happens, either a person is in the hospital or someone dies, people will come, and what will they usually say to the family? If there's anything I can do to help you, I'd be glad to. Now, don't say that unless you really want to help, okay? But the better thing to do is to look for a need, to see how you could help somebody, and then say, well, I would like to do this for you because I see that this would help you. Sometimes if we jump ahead and do something without asking the people, it's not good either. But in these cases, most of these cases, Jesus saw the need and he did something about it. Now, I'd like for us to learn from that, learn to look better at the needs. But as we go through this study, let's ask ourselves, what can we learn from Jesus in each case? Look at his actions. We'll be looking at what he did, what he said, how he said it. And in many cases, when he was going to help the people, there were others who opposed him in helping the people. But that's okay. He just went ahead and did it anyhow. Secondly, what can we learn for our own lives from these events, these things that God did? Too many people think that miracles are things of the past, things that only happen in the Bible. I looked up the definition for a miracle, a wonderful event, and I looked at some old dictionaries, and then I looked at online. A wonderful event that is contrary to or independent of known laws of nature and is held to be supernatural in origin or an act of God. Now, it's interesting that even insurance companies use that phrase, don't they? If it's something that happened that you and I didn't do it, okay, we weren't liable for it, they say it was an act of God. Now, sometimes I think they're blaming them, actually. But the fact that they do recognize that there are things that cannot be explained. They cannot be explained by the laws of nature. They cannot be explained by the laws of thermodynamics. Now that I have more artificial teeth, I have to say that word slowly. Thermodynamics. First and second law of thermodynamics. We're going to study this early in the new year when we study the scientific Bible. The first and second laws of thermodynamics are from the Scripture. That's the first place that they appeared, amazingly enough. But it's interesting that the newest definition that I found for miracles used these words. It was a wonderful event that was manifesting divine intervention. I didn't expect to see that on Merriam-Webster.com or Google.com. I didn't expect divine intervention to be mentioned. But it's true in every case here, but it's also true all around us, things that can't be explained. All right, in way of introduction, total miracles performed by Jesus. I counted up. It's a little bit confusing because some of them are mentioned in some Gospels, some of them are mentioned in a lot of the Gospels, some are only mentioned in one. About 40 miracles that Jesus performed. And it's interesting that about half of them were unrequested miracles. I found 18 in Luke. I found 18 total unrequested miracles. 12 in Luke, and 6 in the book of John. Now, Matthew and Mark also have a couple, but they're duplicates of what are all recorded in Luke. So that's why we landed in Luke for our study, because the most of them are found right there, so we can just sort of go in order. How did Jesus heal? What were the things that were characteristic of his healing? Basically 2 things. Touch, yes. Speaking. He spoke some of them and he touched. Now, go back to Genesis. All of his creation was spoken except for one. And you girls should feel special about this. And the men too. He took, well, first of all, he took the dirt and he made man. And then he took a rib out of man and made the woman. So at least you're not made out of dirt, women, okay? We're made out of dirt, and you are made from us. I don't know, that may not be a consolation to you, I'm not sure. But anyhow, kinds of miracles. This is interesting. First of all, healings. That's probably the one we're most familiar with. Exorcisms. Thirdly, natural or material miracles. For example, what would be an example of that?
Fish in the bread.
Yep, fish in the bread, calming the sea. The wind and the waves obey his will. And the last would be salvations, plural. Salvation is a miracle. It's a totally God intervention in a person's life. And when I was looking at different kinds of miracles, I thought that should probably be number one as far as importance is concerned, because it is much more important that we have our soul healed than our body even. But he does all of them. And not everybody, we don't know for sure, but we can't presume that everybody that Jesus healed became one of his followers, because we know certain people did, and they wanted to follow him. And sometimes he had to say, go back and show yourself to the priest in Jerusalem, go back and show yourself to your family, which was very important, that the changed life be shown first of all to the people who knew you the best. But those are the basic 5 different kinds of miracles that Jesus did.
Do you think that he was ever telling them, go seek discipleship and fellowship, in addition to showing yourself to others and showing his power, but also when he sends them back to the priest, like discipleship, he sends them back to family fellowship, like don't walk earthly alone.
Yeah, because even some of the disciples who witnessed certain miracles witnessed them when not everybody was there. For example, I don't think that all of the disciples were present both of the times that he multiplied the bread and the fishes. Now, I'm guessing that one. But in one case, there were how many baskets left over? 12. I think that was significant because they had 12 disciples at the time. And in one of the other feedings, I think there was 5 baskets, maybe 5 or 7. So, but when they went out, also